You guys are all set? We're going to bring folks in, okay? Thank you. Audio, video, and the whole 9 yards. I think most of you know me. I'm Steph Rosenfeld, and I've been associated through Paul D'Amato in this incredibly courageous firm for the last 10 years. And we appreciate all of you joining us this morning. We are respectful of your time. We expect to go no more than 1 hour. However, the Q&A at the end, and I'm going to ask you to hold questions until the end because there's a lot we're going to cover in a short amount of time. The bulk of that time will be your time to ask questions. So, and once again, folks speaking, presenting will be in this microphone position. Okay, it's my pleasure to introduce Paul D'Amato.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. We are announcing that on behalf of Diane and Steve Valiante, we have filed a lawsuit against the New Jersey Transit Police Department and the State Medical Examiner's Office. What is the goal that we seek to accomplish? We want all of the defendants to turn over whatever evidence or property they have in their possession to our team of volunteer experts and lawyers so we can conduct our own investigation. We anticipate that there should be no opposition to this. In 3 months after Tiffany's death, the transit police closed their file. And attached to our complaint is a copy of the document that says the case is exceptionally closed. What does that mean? That is law enforcement terminology that because it was a suicide, there's no reason to keep the case open. Additionally, the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office, months later, indicated that their file was closed. There's no criminal investigation. Now, the basis of the lawsuit is a statute that was enacted by the New Jersey State Legislature in 1985. And based upon all our research, never before has a family like Steve and Diane utilized that statute, and it's called the Civil Rights Bill of Rights for victims of crime. And that statute makes it clear that parents of a decedent are considered victims. We're relying on that statute as a vehicle to ask a judge to grant the relief that we want. Moreover, and this is significant, a couple years later, under the guidance of then Governor Tom Kean, that statute became an amendment to the New Jersey State Constitution. Article 1, Section 22 says that crime victims have a right to have the property and evidence that law enforcement has not used turned over to them. And so today, we think this is an opportunity for the defendants, instead of fighting us, to say we're going to work hand in hand with you. Moreover, there was a significant development in this case I have to share. And this is why it's happening almost 10 years later. The Valantes, through our office, went to Cornerstone Discovery from Philadelphia. One of the managing partners will be here today, Jason Silva. And they're specialists in digital investigations. And they did a download of Tiffany's laptop cell phone. And that download, using more modern technology than was available back at the time of Tiffany's death, resulted in producing text messages, voicemails, photographs, and depending how you categorize them, from 100,000 to 188,000 pieces of information. And then somebody came along that deserves recognition. Former journalist Marie McGovern contacted this office and has been working 3.5 years because she's a volunteer like all the other volunteers that have assisted the Valantes. And she started looking and put thousands and thousands of hours into this download and probably hit about 75 to 80%. And what you see in the lawsuit, the text messages of what we suggest, is indicative of the fact this may very well have been a hate crime because Tiffany was a gay woman. That was the break that we needed. And we're going to continue looking at these communications, and we will be seeking more volunteers to assist us. So I have some more additional comments at the end, but at this point, I would like, I think you know Diane to my right and Steve, and where's Jess? Jess and Crystal, you're going to stand behind us? Yeah, this is Tiffany's sisters and their daughters. So who would like to go first? Diane.
Oh, you need to come over here. I hate to do this.
That's right.
But it's kind of fun to direct a lawyer, so.
That's right.
And Steve, as you Scotian a little bit, thank you. Good Scotian. Is Tucker here? Tucker wanted to be present for these very brief remarks. And you'll see Tucker in that photo, and then Diane and Stephen will explain that. Both photos, all three photos. Thank you.
I want to thank you all for coming today. Most of all, thank you for your continued interest in justice for our daughter, who was taken from us 10 years ago. She will be 28 years old today, a college graduate, a caring member of the community, probably a member of law enforcement herself, or in the military. These were careers that she dreamed of. We love her and miss her every single second of the day. And I just want to thank everyone for coming here today and trying to get our story out and being there for our daughter. Greatly appreciate them.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you both. Thank you both.
I would now like my partners, Alexa and Steve, to come over here. They have been working with me tirelessly, and they have some short comments to share with you.
Good morning. We all love someone unconditionally. Imagine a person that you love unconditionally not only died, but died under suspicious circumstances. And there were no answers. And the people that were responsible for finding those answers not only didn't do their job, but they completely washed their hands of it. You wouldn't stop until you knew what had happened, until you got the answers that you wanted and needed. Stephen and Diane, victims in their own right, are looking for that. That's what this lawsuit is for, to find Stephen and Diane and their loved ones answers about what happened.
Good morning, everyone. If you don't know who I am, I was introduced a few moments ago by my partner, Paul D'Amato. My name is Stephen Valiante. I've been with Paul and Alexa for 11 years as partner now. Prior to that, by way of some background, so you understand my perspective on the comments I'm going to make this morning, is that for 21 years, I was an employee of the County of Lehigh. For about 17 plus years of those 21 years, I was in the district attorney's office. I retired from the district attorney's office in Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, and Allentown, Pennsylvania in 2014 when I joined Paul and Alexa. For the last 7 years of my time in the district attorney's office, I was the chief of prosecutions and the chief of the violent crimes unit. So I oversaw all of the criminal prosecutions and criminal trials, and I supervised all of the heads of the different divisions in the DA's office there. I have prosecuted thousands of cases in my 17 plus years in the DA's office. I have been involved in some capacity, either as the lead prosecutor or assisting in a case or supervising a prosecutor in probably 100 murder trial investigations or 100 murder investigations. I've tried numerous murder cases. I've tried capital murder cases. I handled the death penalty appeal of a serial killer named Harvey Robinson that went all the way to the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. So I have a different perspective a little bit than some attorneys that have practiced in the civil world completely. From my experience as a prosecutor throughout all of those years, what I saw in this case were two glaring errors right from the start. And you've heard a little bit about that already. Number one, New Jersey Transit shouldn't have been investigating this case. From my experience, good law enforcement agencies, when they have an event or an incident, a fatality like this case, where they have to investigate their own agency, they don't. They bring in a third party outside independent law enforcement agency to do the investigation. They didn't do that here. That leads to the second significant error that I see in this case, and that is that they, New Jersey Transit, rushed to judgment, made a conclusion in a case with doing little to no investigation. So that's the cardinal sin of good investigative police work. You don't conclude what a case is and then look for evidence to support your conclusion or don't do any investigation because you've already concluded it. What you do is you investigate, you interview, you collect evidence, you collect data, you look into the background of everybody involved, including the victim of the crime. You gather all of that evidence and you allow that evidence to lead you to the conclusion of what the case is. That wasn't done here. That was the error that unfortunately leads us to 10 years later to still having no answers. And so this lawsuit that we filed, Paul has filed, the goal, as he said earlier, is to try to get some of those answers, to do a little bit of that investigation that should have been done 10 years ago. So we're very hopeful on behalf of Steve and Diane and their entire family to assist them in getting the answers that they deserve. So thank you all again for being here this morning.
Thank you. All right. Before I bring up one of the most important members of this volunteer team, I want everyone to understand something. If you do a critical review of the New Jersey Transit Police Department reports, okay, let me tell you what they had when they concluded that Tiffany died by suicide. Number one, they asked the student engineer and the senior engineer at the same time, when did you first observe the person? They both responded, when we were on top of the person. Secondly, Tiffany's uncle, Michael Valiante, came to the scene and he made this statement, and I'm going to quote it. There was an argument at a graduation party. That's it. It was those two items that New Jersey Transit relied on to make the declaration that this young woman died by suicide. Now, you know, there is somebody that's really working very, very hard to make sure that all good people come to the Valente family. I received a phone call from Dr. Ross, who'll be up here in a second, and he said, I want to offer my services pro bono to the Valente family. And to have someone like Dr. Ross, who not only has a national reputation, but an international reputation, as a pathologist that will dig deep, offer his services to the Valente family, it was another great break for us. So Dr. Ross, if you could please go up here for some comments. Put it right there.
Actually, here, we're gonna move this chair and you can move that one over.
Okay.
Thanks.
There we go. Sorry.
Oh, it's my first press conference ever. Give a little introduction. My name is Wayne Ross. I'm a forensic pathologist. I'm also a neuropathologist. I performed over 14,000 autopsies in my career. I do 400 to 500 autopsies a year. I work in the center of the state of Pennsylvania. I work for 5 counties, Lancaster, Cumberland, Dauphin County, which is Harrisburg, Mifflin County, and Schuylkill counties. So I got involved in this case. My daughter came to me. She had looked at the Netflix series. And my daughter came, there she is, right there. She said, Dad, you got to help these people. And I said, you know, what are you talking about? She explained to me what happened to Tiffany and everything else. So I looked at the series and I called Paul D'Amato on the phone, contacted him and said, hey, can you send me the autopsy report and everything else? So I looked at the autopsy report, but I'm going to give you a little background information. What we have a placard in our offices in Harrisburg that has 3 rules. And we always teach the 3 rules to everyone. We have interns. I've been teaching at Penn State for 25 years at Hershey Medical Center. I teach all the pathology residents, forensic pathology. We have 3 rules. Rule number 1, rule out homicide. Rule number 2, rule out homicide. I guess you can probably guess rule number 3, rule out homicide. Those are the 3 rules. They never deviate. They never change. It's always the same. Even if you get a natural disease case, we always tell each other, we speak it again and again and again, rule out homicide, because things can change in a dime. Now, the other thing is, we'll listen to witnesses, we'll consider what witnesses say, but we always follow the scientific methodology. There is a standard by which we always follow the same scientific methodology. Now, of course, the foundation is the autopsy, but we also consider the scene. We do complete autopsies. In a case like this, where you have a woman who's dead on the railroad tracks, by all accounts is lying there flat, first thing you have to consider is the fact that this is all a staged scene. She's already dead. She's partially clothed. First thing you have to rule out in any woman who's partially clothed is what we call a rape strangulation case. It's always a case. As a forensic pathologist, if you go to any forensic pathologist in the state or out of the state or wherever and say, you have a woman who's dead at the scene in the railroad tracks, who's just been run over. She's lying there flat by all accounts, even by the first account by the student engineer. We're right on top of her. She's there. It's a staged scene and everything else. It's kind of like if you go to a burning car, you find a person in the trunk, you know they probably died some other means. Well, it's the same sort of principles apply here. Here she is. She's partially clothed. She's run over. If you look at her wounds, look at her injuries, they're all symmetrical. She has symmetrical cuts to her arms, symmetrical cuts to her legs. The problem is no one did a complete autopsy. No one did a rape kit, or what we call a sex kit. And you might argue, well, her legs were cut off. You could still go inside and do a rape kit inside the internal parts of the body. No one ever opened up and looked at the neck. And when I look at the neck on the photographs, I see abrasions there. I see scrapes there. So we're going to try to do some more work on that and try to see if we can pick up a handprint or something along those lines. But an autopsy was not performed. Sure, an external examination was performed, but if you look at that report, it's very limited. They don't document the injuries. What they should have done is a DNA analysis. They should have done what we call tape lifters. DNA analysis, you swab the entire body looking for touch DNA. They should have done tape lifters, looking for fibers and everything in the body. None of that was done. They should have done a sex kit. They should have taken fingernails. They should have done pulled head hair. They should have done further DNA analysis, and they should have done a complete autopsy, including examining the neck as well as the other parts of the body. Even though she was run over, you could still, a trained forensic pathologist can still look at the internal components and figure this case out. So from my perspective, I also did an independent analysis beside myself. I sent it to 6 other people I know. I sent it to a district attorney up in northern Pennsylvania. I sent it to crime scene investigators. I sent it to a bloodstain pattern analyst. I'm also a bloodstain pattern analyst as well, so we're looking at those bloodstain patterns still. But the point is, I had 6 independent people look at it, and every one of them said it was a homicide. Everyone. And I didn't influence them at all. I said, I just want your opinion. I don't care, whatever it is. But it's my opinion this is a homicide. And even if you don't agree with me that this is a homicide, this case should have been pursued as a homicide. Because remember the rule. The rule is rule out homicide. It may not be a homicide, but you better rule it out. That's your job. And it wasn't done.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
sure.
Now it's my pleasure to ask Jason Silva of Cornerstone Discovery to share with you the involvement of his firm and how they're helping the Valente family. Jason, and let's get the easel.
Good afternoon. My name is Jason Silva. I'm the managing director at Cornerstone Discovery, a national digital forensic firm based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We've been asked by the family of Tiffany Valiante and legal team to assist with an independent review of the digital evidence in this case. Our role has been to analyze the available data through a forensic lens, objectively and thoroughly. Using advanced forensic tools and techniques that were not previously available in this investigation, our team performed a full file system extraction of Tiffany's phone. This allowed us to recover previously inaccessible content. Among the data recovered were communications indicating Tiffany was subjected to bullying, ridicule, and messages related to her sexual orientation. We also examined the phone's location data, and I prepared a map behind me to illustrate some key locations. Here, the green dot, we have the residence. The orange dot, we have the shoes and headband. And then we have the body recovery location in red there. Also marked on this map is a cell tower positioned between the home and the recovery site. And this is really critical. Tiffany's phone was connected to the south-facing antenna of that tower, the one that's directed at the home. In forensic investigations like this, data from that tower can be critical. It may show other devices and by extension, other individuals that were present in the area with Tiffany during the time she was missing. We believe that during the approximate 90 minutes that Tiffany was unaccounted for, any phone or device traveling from the home area north towards the recovery site would have connected to that tower. As of today, Cornerstone has not been provided access to that tower data. Lastly, we're prepared to take possession of memory cards that are currently in the possession of police from a surveillance camera on the Valiante property. That camera reportedly captured Tiffany leaving the driveway. These are some still shots that were provided. As you can see, they're very difficult to make out. We intend to forensically analyze those cards to recover any deleted or damaged footage and enhance the video quality as much as possible in hopes of recovering additional facts relevant to the timeline and circumstances of her death.
Thank you. And once again, when we're wrapped, you'll have the opportunity to ask everybody questions. You want to introduce Michelle?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
We are very fortunate to have the nurse practitioner that came to the scene. And I say fortunate because she has volunteered to cooperate with us. And her observations at the scene are dramatic, startling, and cause us all to support the opinions of experts like Dr. Ross. Michelle, would you please come on here?
This is Michelle Amendalia.
Hello. Hi, my name's Michelle Amendalia. I'm a nurse practitioner. I was contacted by Galloway Township Police Department for a pronouncement of a deceased on the railroad tracks. What I won't forget is that the arms and legs of Tiffany were severed from her torso, almost as if they had been surgically removed. What also struck me was there was a large amount of blood, as we see in the photo.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Cue the photo. It's
Oh,
coming.
sorry.
No.
Where is it? Oh, right there, Steve, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what struck me was a large amount of blood that we see in this photo here. And since then, this was my first pedestrian with a train strike. And since then, I've done about 5 more. If I were called to the scene today, I would tell law enforcement that not to rush and pursue this as a suicide, but instead as a crime. Yeah,
Thank you, Michelle.
thank you.
Yeah. Right, thank you. At this point, we will take questions, but I'm asking the state of New Jersey, again, work with us. Don't fight us. And we're going to be reaching out to the New Jersey Division of Civil Rights because preliminarily, we have enough to justify that there was a hate crime because this young lady was gay. And we're hoping that that division will assist us, work hand in hand to get the answers that Steve and Diane want. Let me tell you this. Steve and Diane can handle the truth. Whatever that ultimate truth is going to be, they can handle it. What they cannot handle is the uncertainty of where we are today because of the inactions and actions of the defendants. So with that in mind, any questions you have, we'll bring people up that you would like to speak to.
I think Eric did you have a question?
Yeah, I do.
Who's it for? And we'll make sure. Is it for Paul?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Paul, can you, I think that this is like, the Crime Victim Bill of Rights is something that I don't think many people might have heard of before. Like, can you give us more detail about this statute? Like, when was it enacted? Is it something that's been recently new to try to help crime victims in New Jersey in the past?
Yeah.
Years or?
Sure. If you go back to the early 1980s, victims of crime and their families were upset over the fact that law enforcement agencies were not speaking with them as to the status of the investigation. And that hue and cry continued. It got louder and louder and louder. And fortunately, members of the New Jersey Senate, State Assembly, and the governor put together a Bill of Rights for crime victims. And that Bill of Rights, you can see for yourself, it's New Jersey Statute 52 4B-36. It lists different rights. And one of those rights is to say to law enforcement, if you're not using the evidence or property that you've accumulated, give it back to the victims so they can use it. And let me say this to you. Early on, in 2015, I told New Jersey Transit Police Department, don't get rid of that evidence because we have civil proceedings that we're going to be pursuing. And if you look at our complaint, part of it is we have, again, we're asserting a claim against those unknown individuals that are responsible for Tiffany's death. When we determine their identity, we will amend the complaint and we will go to a jury trial and have a jury declare what is fair and reasonable compensation for this family for what they've been through. We don't know who those individuals are now, but I will suggest to you that the volunteer team, we've identified people that we believe have information. Unfortunately, without a lawsuit, I can't subpoena those individuals to this office and take their deposition. But now that we have filed a lawsuit, and once we get moving, those subpoenas will go out and we'll see if they show up. And they may show up and plead the fifth, or they may give us information. So that's what we're going to do. Now, I have to tell you, if you ask any lawyer, how many times in your career have you seen where a state statute becomes an amendment to a state constitution? It's almost unheard of, and I've been doing this for over 50 years. So now we have a constitutional right to have the defendants give us the evidence and property that you're not using. So this is we believe is the first time it's ever been done in the state of New Jersey. Hope that answers your.
Yeah, I think it does. Might have a couple follow-ups.
Fine. Anybody else? We have a question remotely. John, do you have a question?
Yeah, this is either for you, Paul, or for Jason. How many of those text messages were covered, and when were they discovered? Because I saw in the press release, it was written as it was recently discovered.
Yes. Well, You want to? I'm sorry, what? Oh, yeah. We did the download a couple of years ago, but it was overwhelming. And again, we're a volunteer group of people. So thanks to former New York Daily News journalist Marie McGovern. She volunteered and has been working through those text messages and found what you see in the lawsuit. So maybe it was about 25% more that we're going through, but it was a recent event. So why did it happen now? Well, the Valantes were able to get the cooperation of Cornerstone Discovery. Marie McGovern comes into our lives, and that's why we have this information, and that's why we're filing the lawsuit now.
We have a second part of that, but you have to yield the chair to Jason. Your Honor. Yes.
Oh.
So the follow-up question here is, can Mr. Silva explain why technology now is different from previous year's technologies, and what is a tower dump? Address your answer, please, to.
Sure. So I'll start with cell phone forensics. As you all know, new cell phones come out, new updates to phones. Everyone's gotten an iOS update on their iPhone. And essentially, the forensic community is constantly working against these updates and against these manufacturers to find ways to extract data from cell phones. There's multiple levels of extractions that can be performed on a cell phone. Commonly, we see what's called an advanced logical, and not to get too technical, but an advanced logical is a common extraction, but doesn't extract all of the information from a phone. Just recently, in the last few years, we have new technology, software like Celebrite and Magnet Forensics, which you may have seen in the news in other cases, has allowed us to get what we call a full file system extraction of phones. It provides a more complete extraction of the phone, and more information is available when we go back to these phones and re-extract them using the latest and greatest software.
Part two of the question was, what is the term tower dump that's referred to?
Sure. So cell phone towers maintain logs of the different devices that are connected to them. Something called an IMEI, essentially a serial number of every device. So each tower can record that. Towers typically have 3 antennas or 3 sides. And so the tower itself will record over a period of time the serial numbers of the different devices that are within range of that tower. And so that's a tower dump.
I had one follow-up. I think I have here in my notes, it was about 180, correct me if I'm wrong, 180,000 pieces of content that were reviewed through your forensic investigation.
So I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but as you all know, cell phones contain everything in our lives, from messages, photographs, videos, system information, network logs, location data. And so it's common when we do a full file system extraction that we get hundreds of thousands of unique pieces of information from a phone.
Kind of like estimate if you were to take like upward of 100 something, like do you have any kind of like, not just like if you can't think of a concrete number, do you have like kind of like an estimate of how many pieces of data or content you produced?
I'm sure it's well over 100,000.
Okay.
This is fascinating. Are you telling me that you'd be able to tell all the other cell phones in that area to be able to tell?
Correct. So,
Now, would you be able to tell a movement from that cell phone?
so we can tell the serial number from the cell tower based on the antennas. And so it's critical that the residence is in the south-facing antenna and the body recovery is in the north-facing antenna. So if we were to look at the tower dump from that time period, we would be able to compare the phones that were in the area of the residence and the phones that are in the area of the body recovery over a certain period of time.
Yeah, well, she actually wants to come back here and add something. Go ahead. Excuse us, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. And then we'll have time after Michelle for one more question before we wrap, and we'll be around. Thank you.
the photo up again.
Okay, yeah. She wants to put the photo.
This photo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Steve, can you grab us? the
So
photo?
I've talked to a lot of other medical professionals and specifically with train strikes versus pedestrians. And on the initial impact there, where you see here with Tiffany's, the scene there, the initial impact is not usually the large blood splatter or the like almost pool of blood as you see here. We've been doing this for the county for about 12 years now. Yes.
And how many other nurse practitioners have you spoken to about the dismemberment of limbs that you saw when you were at the scene?
Yeah, 3 others.
And what
Yes.
did they share with you?
Yeah, normally a pedestrian versus a train, the body is still mostly intact, fully clothed, typically, standing in front of a train. And unfortunately, this was not the case.
You said that this was your first one, but then
Yes.
you've done others. What
Yes.
are the major differences that you yourself saw between Tiffany's death
Yeah.
and the others?
The initial impact is not a blood splatter like that. And it would be also with Tiffany's, in that case, her arms and legs were dismembered. And usually they're fully intact for the most part. Yes. Not the way it was like her arms and legs were removed like surgically. Yes.
Okay, Michelle, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. We have time for one more question. Alex, do you have one? Okay. Anybody else? Eric?
Paul, can you walk us through again about, this is, I just need some clarification. So I remember that there was a few lawsuits that were filed. There was one to hand over evidence, I believe, that was filed. And then there was a second, or maybe it's just the same complaint, where you fought to change the manner of death from suicide to undetermined.
This is actually the 5th lawsuit that our law firm has filed. The first one was to get the actual reports from New Jersey Transit Police Department. And my comment to them was, well, if you say it's suicide, just give me the reports. And we had to file a lawsuit, and thanks to the cooperation of the Attorney General's office, they were able to say to Transit Police, turn them over. Additionally, we asked for a complete file of the state medical examiner's office. They said no. We had to file a lawsuit. And there's been a series of lawsuits just to get basic information. Now, I will say to you this. I have been provided through the Attorney General's office with what they say is a complete copy of the New Jersey Transit Police file. Well, that's what the Attorney General's office was told. Part of what we're going to do is, in this lawsuit, is to ask for a certified copy of everything. And more importantly, I want the opportunity for Dr. Ross to go where they're maintaining this evidence, to see the condition of the evidence. As you know, they had accumulated an axe, a copy of which is attached to the lawsuit. And we also provided you with a document from the police saying that they admitted it into evidence. Then they lost the axe. Then the Valiante family spent almost $10,000 to have certain pieces of evidence examined by one of the premier companies in the United States for DNA analysis. And because the evidence was kept in plastic bags and developed mold, the testing was invalid. So we want to grab that evidence and make sure that it's going to be maintained properly. I hope that answers your question.
I think so. So
Yeah.
just to clarify that you sued and then had the cause of death overturned from suicide to undetermined. That's
Yes, that was one of the lawsuits, yes. And then there was an appeal to the state medical examiner's office. They said they looked at everything and they denied the appeal to change the death certificate. But I have to tell you, at this point in time, it's way more about changing the death certificate. It's about finding out what happened. And let me suggest this. If you focus on how did Tiffany get from her home to the point of impact where she was hit by that train, that is the key. If we can find out how she was transported there, she didn't walk there. People took her there. And it's those people, and I want to go a step further. I would say to the family of those individuals, if you suspect that your child, your brother or sister has information of this case, go to the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office. Get that information out there now. Thank you. I'm sorry. Okay, that's
Anybody
it.
else?
We're done.
Okay, we thank you. We also, Paul wanted to just briefly mention in closing the contributions. There are so many other volunteers, including Jim and Chuck.
Yeah.
Fill in the
yeah.
blank, please.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
Jim Bredenstall and Chuck Atkinson. Paul will address their role.
Yeah. Chuck Atkinson retired from the New Jersey State Police. Jim Bredenstall retired from Galloway Township. The number of hours that they have put into this case. Besides that, over the years, we have had other individuals come and look at the file. Retired FBI agent, wrote a report, which was given to me. We sent that report to the Attorney General of the state of New Jersey, 62 pages, saying why this case should be opened. Right? Same report went to other law enforcement agencies. Never got a response. Never got an acknowledgement saying, thank you for this report. That individual spent hundreds of hours analyzing this case. So there's been so many people over the 10 years that have assisted us. And I'm sure we'll have more volunteers come forward because until we get answers, we're going to just keep on going. All right? I think that's it. Okay.
Thank you all very, very much. You know how to reach me, you know how to reach Paul, and have just a safe weekend, please. Thank you all. It's